On today's episode, director Oanh-Nhi Nguyen and DP Eurica Yu sit down for a conversation about their experience as collaborators on the documentary, Taking Root. They discuss how they involve members from Philly's Southeast Asian communities throughout the filmmaking process, why it was important to have a diverse crew behind the scenes, and the moment they found out Taking Root was selected for the 2023 Tribeca Film Festival. Here's Oanh-Nhi and Eurica.
All right, Oanh-Nhi, how long have we known each other?
I think 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Because we filmed 2 years ago.
I feel like you're that kind of person where we've only met 2.5 years, but it felt like we've known each other for a really, really long time.
Definitely.
But
do you remember how we met?
I honestly don't remember because I thought I know someone recommended me to you.
Yeah.
In your email, all you said is, someone recommended me to you. And I checked your work and I really liked it.
I think I said his name, but I forgot his name. So apologies if you're listening. But yeah, I remember. Okay, so basically my background was in documentary film when I was in high school. We had a really awesome broadcast journalism program.
Yep.
And then in college, I did co-edited a documentary as well. And all on social justice issues, it was on sexual violence survivors all around the world, and also did a film on my parents when I was 16, their stories after the war in Vietnam. So I really cared about film. And then after college, though, I took a 10-year break from film. I taught my old high school for 6 months, and then I was like, okay, I think that's it. I never saw a director, never knew anything about producing, but I was really passionate about social justice issues, especially women and girls' rights, ending violence against women and girls.
Yep.
And then I had a career in 10 years in social justice, doing digital organizing for Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders. Then, I did women's rights stuff for a bit, and then philanthropy.
Yep.
To help resource girls of color work and Asian American Pacific Islander work.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I turned 30 and
the big 30.
The big 30. And one employers shut down one of our programs, so I also was dealing with that. So it was just what do I really want to do? And throughout those 10 years, I was screenwriting on and off. And I mean really on and off. Wrote 2 features in 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah. Actually, 2 features in 10 years.
Okay.
And maybe a little other.
Do you feel
stories.
You're not writing as much because there's no time, there's no due date you gave yourself?
Yeah, but I had a screenwriting coach. So that's why I got those done. Yeah. But even I prefer a delay. But I felt I'm still writing on and off. I do like film a lot. There's stories I really care about.
Yeah.
But I was just how do I do this at 30 and figuring out how I want to get back into film. But I was I kind of want to do narrative film. And so I was really looking into becoming a producer because I have background in philanthropy.
Yep.
And then I remember this literary manager, I was just networking call, and he was just well, what do you really want to do? Do you want to be a writer? Well, I'm not really that good at it. It took me 10 years to write 2 things.
To be really honest.
Yeah. And then he was well, do you want to be a producer? I'm I know I'd be good at it. But my heart wasn't doing anything. It was just eh. And then he was or you want to be a director? And I was oh shit, I want to be a director. My heart was just oh, that's what I want to do. Because I think working in nonprofit and philanthropy held space for a lot of people.
Yes.
Emotional intelligence, working with people, people's person. I love having a vision and then driving it to the end of a team, managing a team. So that was I think I want to do directing. And I remember that moment because I was just I'm going to do it. I'm going to direct. Girl, I've never been on set. I've never been on set. I knew I'd never seen a director.
I had a feeling that you've never been on set.
I think I told you I've never been on set.
I feel you kind of told me you dabbled into it, but I didn't know the extent of how much you haven't been on set. I could tell that you were doing a lot of logistical things and not really in the directing.
Yeah, I was producing a lot more. For Taking Root.
But honestly, I was so impressed with you because when we got together for Taking Root, you came up with a whole in Milanote, you came up with the whole production overview, lookbook.
Oh, I did?
Theme. Yeah, because you were
You came up with the lookbook.
I came up with the lookbook, but then you came up with I want this specific thing.
Oh, okay.
And then you came up with really specific.
I did.
And I was for someone who has never been on set, and still do that. Like, that's really good.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like you don't give yourself enough credits.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, like with the doc, I was like, okay, I'm going to get back into film.
Yeah.
So I knew VietLead for 7 years. The way I see them is like they're a youth-led social justice organization that really believes in self-determination, food sovereignty, and just like doing a lot of healing work intergenerationally, but also civic engagement. So they do a lot of work, but they do a lot of community work to make sure that intergenerational relationships are built, also solidarity is built, but also they're really, political. Like they really want to transform our community, this country, our world, really, and they do it in such many ways. I met Nancy Nguyen, the co-director of VietLead, through one of my old jobs.
Oh, through the philanthropic?
Through Move to End Violence. It was like a movement building organization that worked with leaders who were working to end violence, and Nancy was one of them. Yep. And so I remember meeting her, and she was in Philly, and I moved to Philly for a little bit.
Yes, I remember that.
And I've been like volunteering, helping them out as much as I can. But I really believe in their work. Like VietLead is a badass organization. I was so inspired by their work because they're actually doing it, not just talking it. They're like really changing community in such a beautiful, powerful way. Yeah. So I was like, maybe I can do a documentary on VietLead. So I was like, hey, Nancy. Young, can I do a doc on you all? Because I really want to get back into film. And I think they were like thinking about it. They're like, okay. But then we're like, actually, I was like, I'm actually doing this research on like Southeast Asians and how we resettled after the wars in Southeast Asia. And I think it's be more impactful if you made a doc about that. And I was like, oh.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Oui.
It was like kind of a mind shift at first because I love them so much and I feel like they deserve the accolades and like so much like love for the work they're doing.
Right.
But when she shared about that, I was like, it's kind of the same purpose,
But they're a part of it.
Same purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a part of it and the same purpose of like elevating Asian American stories, but also like documenting our history that no one knows or really cares about. Yeah. So it was Lan's research she did for like, I think a year. She did like her own research of like.
I remember that.
Yeah. So it's pretty incredible what she did. And then she's like, well, we can interview this 15 community leaders and we can talk about, basically how we resettled here. Yeah. The impact of Ohio was like to live in Philly after the wars, like literally no resources. And then just like how we rebuilt and how we resist in our own way. So that's how it started. And so that became, like that was 2 years ago. Yeah. Just not that long.
Honestly, it's not that long, yeah. I feel like documentaries take forever.
For me, I just really wanted to first get back into film. But second, it's also because there's a lot of anti-Asian hate happening and violence happening. And we were just like thinking about how do we talk about anti-Asian violence that's happening, not just a recent thing. And just because of COVID.
Right, it's been happening.
It's been historical.
Since the resettlement.
So many years. Yeah. Decades, right? And like just the wars in Southeast Asia, right? And like how that has impacted people to resettle here. But even we don't really, I think that the mainstream folks in general public don't really think about what happens to refugees after they're resettled.
I mean, I didn't know as well until I was sitting down in interviews and I was listening to all of it. Because like my country had our own issues too, but it's a whole new different thing when you have to resettle from one country coming into the United States in hope of the American dream is what everyone talks about, but like, that's not really the case.
Yeah, but also caused by America, the reason why you had to flee in the first place. So I think that's like, that's the reason why we wanted to make the documentary. And then with Lan's research that she did for like a year, I don't remember the fellowship she did, but Chronicling Resistance with the Free Library, I think, fellowship she did. And she was just like, there's 15 community leaders that we want to interview. Yeah. And then me and Lan came up with the questions. And because VietLead is very youth-led, they want the students to practice doing their interviews. And they do that every summer, actually.
I remember that, actually. I remember each interview we had
was by the students asked the questions.
The students were asking the questions and you were sort of aiding them.
Yeah.
I remember that now. It's coming back.
It's such a community documentary, so cool, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, with so much love and like community and like wanting to create like the documentary to me is very healing too.
Yes.
I knew it was really special when we were making it. And I think it's also important, like, the process of like bringing you on and like just wanted to have a predominantly BIPOC crew as much as possible. But just like, the good vibes are important. And I think, but every single person brought that in with the project. It was like the crew, it was like the students, it was VietLead, the interviewees, the food, baby. I can't forget about the food. It was awesome. And also like Maestro, like after we filmed for 5 days, we did a little bit of B-roll. Yes. But I think I wanted to see the whole thing together first. Yeah. And so Maestro came in to help do the editing for the first 2 episodes.
It's been really, really helpful, isn't it, to have Maestro just overseeing it and just like seeing what else are we lacking that could tell the story better. Yeah. And I think what we were lacking really was B-roll because we focused so much on the interview that we were like, there's only so much you could put people's face on things.
Yeah, and we knew that coming in. We're like, we don't want this just to be talking heads.
I know.
But also like budget. We had like, like I was crowdfunding. I was like, oh, we just need 20,000 to do this whole thing. Yeah, right. And so I was crowdfunding.
But we also got help from so many, friends, so many filmmakers in Philly,
Yeah, like Expressway Rentals.
Expressway was helping us
so many discounts.
Easton and Darby, especially with the gears, like the Alexa.
Yeah.
They were helping us, like, being able to shoot that and also bringing on another camera so we can get two cameras at once. I feel like that
helped us
a time saver to just, like, get as many angles as we need.
Yeah, for sure.
But, yeah, I feel like in times of need, if we ask, I feel like the community would help. And I think that was what Philly really did for us.
They really, really did.
So talk to me a little bit more about the archival process. Because episode 1,
oh my God,
just so many archival footage instead of what we shot.
Yeah. So also because of Lon's research, she had a lot of archival articles. So it was really incredible to like see, just like a glimpse of what happens through like these old articles. Yep. But also like those stories are historical. So we ended up needing a lot more archival, not just articles, but also like footage of the war, of like, I didn't really want to focus on the violence on Southeast Asians, like, like soldiers and stuff like that. Yeah. But I did want to see like the impact of like
how that
bombing
happened.
our country and like all this stuff. So like that kind of archival, a lot of archival articles. I have to shout out our archivists. It took like 5 people.
That's crazy.
But like we had to find so much archival things. So there were so many people involved. So that was basically we filmed 5-7 days. Yeah. And then I think I worked with Maestro for like a year and a half. They like really helped us figure out like how do we put these stories together. There's so much content. Yeah. And it took like, they probably worked thousands of hours on that to figure that out.
Yeah, that was before you got into AFI.
And then my 3rd episode, I worked with Nathaniel, who is my editor on the 3rd episode. But it's been like, it's been a really big journey. And I have to thank everyone who made it possible. And I feel like everybody poured a lot of love into it. Yeah. That made it so special. And especially like you, because I think we were so aligned on the vision and stuff. Yeah. But like you really brought it to life. Like I just felt like you were in my brain. I was like, and you're just like so talented, seriously. Such a talented DP.
When we met, when you proposed this project to me, you said you wanted it to be a documentary, like a long form documentary. What made you switch from a documentary to an episodic? Because right now it's a 4-part. It's a 4-part.
It's gonna be 4. Right now it's 3.
4, yeah. What made you do that switch from a documentary to an episodic? Were there like too many materials, or you wanted it to like segregate? You wanted it to segregate it and like
poor Joe from Maestro. Joe's our story producer, who was amazing to help us figure out the stories. So like the episodes right now, because there's a lot of content, but like also because we want to figure out how to do it educationally. Yes. Some people's attention span can't watch a whole thing. So we did 3 episodes currently. We have 2 episodes are about 25 minutes. Yep. The first episode is about like what happened after the war to not just Vietnamese folks, but Cambodian, Laotian, like how they were resettled in Philadelphia specifically without any support, any resources.
Yeah.
And then the second one episode is about like the failed resettlement system of like the impacts of having to resettle here and then having no resource, having no help, and then the violence that ensued because of that. So a lot of like those stories of people like, you know, getting involved in gangs because they had to protect themselves and like having no resources and like being pitted against, you know, Black folks that were living here and like having no help. So it was a lot about that.
Yeah.
And then the third episode, which is the one that the grandma is featured in, is about how we rebuilt.
The healing, right?
How we rebuilt and like triumphed. And then like we came out to help to like be in community and help each other out without help from the city or like, you know, trying that. Like there's so many awesome stories of like how the FDR market got started. But I would love to hear about how it was like for you and like what your vision was for the doc.
That's a good question. I feel like I'm the kind of person that's more attracted to darker images. I think I'm attracted to where the light is. So I think for something that's really brightly lit, it loses its impact on me. But I know that you really visualize this film to be hopeful and not too much in desperation. And so that's why the moodiness, I feel like there's like a fine balance between sort of like having a moodier image at certain moments versus having a more hopeful image in some moments. And I knew that we really needed so much B-roll, which I think we still need to get more B-roll.
We do.
No matter what it is, I think we still need to get more B-roll. That I think when I talk to a director after we have a chat and everything, I like to create a mood board.
Yeah, we do great.
And that's what I did with you, where I grabbed stills from different projects I've seen, different shoots I've been on and whatever, and I put it all together. And I think what really helped was I gave you options, and I was kind of visualizing, oh, if we shoot in a house, would this lighting work? Would this framing work? You know, do you want more of like a low angle shot for the kids, or do you want more of like a high angle shot? Like, what was the message we were trying to convey, I think, essentially. And I think sometimes I get caught up with, just making a pretty image, but I think to me, it's more about like the tonality of it that I really wanted to help you achieve.
Yeah, and you did it. And I really think because...
I think we did it.
Yeah, we did it, yes. But I really think like so much magic was made because of who was on the team.
Honestly, like I could not have done it without Matt. Matt Brand, my AC, Leslie Sound, like he was such a joy to be around. Jarrell, my gaffer. And I think we really succeeded in making a crew that is BIPOC. And Jenna too.
Jenna
Long,
Yeah. And it was a first for a lot of people.
Just the crucial crew that made it happen, but also knowing how important this film is, and also during that time where anti-Asian violence was really, really strong. And I don't know, I think it was really, really important for us to get like a BIPOC crew for this film specifically. And also someone who understands and willing to accept different culture. I think that was really, really important to me. But also I think for me, it's like when I search for crew, I search for mostly BIPOC crew if I'm able to, or like just people who I can vibe really well, who I know, will not bring a negative energy on set. I think that's my biggest thing. It's when especially when we're doing something that's important, like I think documentaries, narrative, they're all really important, but essentially narrative is fake. That's what I tell myself sometimes, even though the message is real, but what we're shooting is fake. But documentaries are so real that if there's no crew that is aligned with you visually and also emotionally, it will not be a good project, I think.
And I think all of our energies like worked really well together.
All our energy was like really synced up.
And so the product, or like our intention was there. And then like we got into Tribeca, which is...
I mean...
still wild.
When you texted me, I just woke up and I go, Wow, what time did she text me?
I was trying to FaceTime you because
You were trying to FaceTime me. Yeah, and I
Eurica.
thought it was about like the, episode 3 of VietLead or episode 2. And then I was like, I'll just call her back in the morning. And then I saw it.
I never FaceTime.
Yeah. But no, like, tell me how was the... First of all, tell me how you felt when...
Oh my God.
I didn't even know that you submitted the Tribeca. That's incredible.
Well, I have submitted to quite a few places.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to any of them.
That's great.
So I was just like, okay. And like the process to apply was just like, literally click apply and just like do a couple paragraphs and send.
Yeah.
So I kind of forgot about it. But yeah, I found out in the car and I was like, oh, I got an email first. They were asking me about if we premiered anywhere. I was like, no. Why? And so then when she confirmed that they wanted to invite us to be on their like now indie episodic series, I was like, I cried. I was like, oh my God, what? Because I knew we did something so special.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is nobody seeing like how special these stories are?
Yeah.
But it just felt so affirming to be like, like Tribeca was like, I see you. And I was like, oh.
So here's a quick question.
Yeah.
If Tribeca didn't see us, would you have still felt affirmed? Because that's the thing though. It's like when we need people's validation to prove our worth, it's like...
That's true.
Even if we know that we did a good job.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that it's like an imposter syndrome too.
Yeah. I felt like, because it's like I knew what we did was special no matter what.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like a boost to be like, to all the other festivals that rejected us. I was like, but it was because I think it was a first for many of us. Like the first time I was on set, first time Matt AC'd, first time Long was on set,
I think
first time Jenna AD'd.
I think it was one of my first. It's not one of my first big ones, but it's one of those special moments where how sometimes work is just work.
Yeah.
But this project specifically, it's something near and dear to everyone, I think.
Yeah. It is. And we went to the temple.
Yeah.
And like we got bracelets from the monks. And like Leslie, our sound mixer, still wore it a year, 2 years later.
We ate food that were blessed by the monk.
Yeah. But like, no, I feel like I just feel really grateful for what we made as a team. And I just think I can't wait for the world to see it.
Yeah.
For VietLead to, use in the community, show more community folks.
I think that's the most important thing, even though Tribeca, affirmed us, but it's really more about VietLead.
Yeah, 100%.
And the community that they're trying. Especially, I don't know, I think it's like, it's so heartwarming and endearing when you see youth getting involved in something like this when they could really choose not to be.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's so easy to like not be interested in something like this. Because I know a lot of... I don't know about it over here in the States, but back home, like especially coming from Malaysia, where we're such a multi-diverse country, we're sort of, we understand each other's culture and we're not shying away from it. But I know over here, a lot of Asian kids growing up has felt a little bit unseen or kind of like ashamed of their culture, that they stay away from it.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to see that like the VietLead community really... I don't know, including the young folks in this and also introducing them to like filmmaking, because a lot of Asian kids are, I hate to say this, but stereotypically, like they're always going for like something of a higher profession. But something like this where like you're telling stories and everything, I feel like that opens up so much door and like opens up to like humility.
Yeah. I feel like VietLead cultivates that. Like I wish I had a something like VietLead when I was young. But I think it's just like the ways that they cultivate like feeling
included,
like proud of our culture, but also like wanting to build things for our communities. Like self-determination is really important, and like healing through all this pain and suffering many generations have been through. And so I feel like the doc really represents that.
I think one of the thing too, it's that that community garden in Camden, that LAN is massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think like what you say, cultivating a future and having a space where the kids could be part of nature.
Yeah.
Because that's so much of how Vietnamese food is, or like Cambodian or like Southeast Asian food. It's so much about the greens, what comes from the ground, what comes from land.
Land, and I think like the intergenerational relationships they started, because the garden was started, a lot of elders saying that they want a way to connect with young people. And so the elders take care of gardens with the youth, and then their little giveaway the vegetables to the neighbors.
I took some vegetables back home too.
My mom bought a lot once. But
what was really incredible is the end of that day, where we included everyone in it. How many people were there? There were about
like
40,
20 young people
20?
Probably.
But there were so many that like the whole camera frame was filled with them. And that was special. That was really, really special. Yeah. I'm really glad that we were able to bring that story to life. What do you feel impacted you the most?
I think it's seeing it all together. I think it's made me feel seen, and then hopefully others feel seen. The intention that we put in, too. Like making it a BIPOC crew. Making sure it was community-led, with VietLead, young people. And it was just a genuine, authentic stories we wanted to tell. And I feel like it's because it's never existed before. Like no one has documented the stories of Southeast Asians in Philadelphia before.
That's the most interesting one, because I know there's a lot of like Japanese resettlement and Chinese resettlement during the gold rush or whatever it is. But never, that was the thing
into a documentary.
That was the thing that attracted me to this documentary is I was living in Philly for 5 years and I didn't even know. I mean, granted, a lot of people has been living in Philly for like many, many years. But even I, as a Southeast Asian, member, have no idea that something like this existed. Like, that was eye-opening to me.
And then now that's out. And like we made it. And I think what I'm really excited about to see like the impact beyond generation. Like we don't know. Like somebody in 10 years from now who's like 12 years old can watch it and like have an understanding of it. I think it's more, I'm really excited about the generational impact of being able to document our stories in a very special way, in a very intentional way that makes me feel really grateful and hopeful about what we made. And I think just community, like I couldn't do this without community, like with VietLead, without Lon, without you, without crew, without Maestro. Like it was just like so many people poured into this, and like you can't make a film without community. And I think we built a really beautiful one.
I think what I took away from this, when we were talking, it kind of jogged my memory a little bit about like 2 specific interviews we did. Maybe not interview, but one of it was, remember we couldn't show his face. And he was just talking about how his brother was killed because he was in a gang violence. I don't know, sometimes when you hear about stories like that, sometimes you turn a blind eye away from it. But then, I don't know, I think being in that room, hearing it, even though, like he wasn't speaking in Vietnamese, he wasn't speaking English for some, like most of the parts, but you could really feel from, and I don't know, I think like sometimes doing stories like this, doing documentaries especially, enables me to learn about human bodies, human nature, and like interacting with human emotions, because I think that's something that like in the film world, it's very touch and go. And I think sometimes it's really refreshing and healing and nurturing to have something like that, where sometimes we take a moment to like just slow down and just invest our time in a project that really means a lot. But there was also another one that I really, really wanted to point out that I think it changed everything.
Which one?
Who was it that was playing?
Debbie. I remember that day.
Debbie broke my heart completely. When she played that song for her students that were put in jail for the wrong reasons. And she wrote a song for them, and that was the last time she saw them. And when she played that song for 3 whole minutes straight, I felt like I've never experienced something like that. I was tearing up behind the camera, and I thought I was the only one, and like the camera started getting shaky. And then as soon as she was done playing, and then when, I don't know who yelled cut, but all of us were sniffling. And I thought, and I could feel the energy in the room. It was tender, it was regretfulness, it was longing. But it felt a lot when everyone on set, it was a small crew. It was me, you, Jenna, Long, Leslie, and Matt.
Yeah. She tried the best she can
Yeah.
to help her students.
And it didn't work out, but
Because of the failed resettlement system. Just the way that systemically there was like this is how it was set up to not help these kids.
yeah. And it's still how it is right now, but
Yeah.
it started way longer before that.
Yeah. And I think Debbie, which I'm really excited for people to meet her in the documentary, has been such a force of also VietLead, kind of organizing in a way, built a whole school for Asian American kids,
Which school is it?
It's FACS charter school, I think it's called.
Oh, okay.
But because of her, one person and a community of activists and organizers, we have generational, not just pain, right? But we also have some victories of what we've built, what we're trying to heal, what we continue to try to heal. So it's just it's been really amazing to see elevate these people who have done so much transformational work for us.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the martini shot with these rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is, do you prefer to work on documentary or narrative projects?
Half-half.
Half-half. Why?
Yeah. I feel like documentaries are a little bit more fulfilling, but narrative is a little bit more creative.
I agree with that.
Yeah? Wait, what about you?
I prefer narrative, I think.
Yeah?
Because I've done more narrative in the AFI now. I just feel like just coming up with a story and the visuals and being able to have more creative control of it, coming up with a frame, it's it excites me more. I mean, I'll always love docs. It's my first love, but I think right now it's narrative.
Okay. Best day on set?
Okay, so I don't have a best day I remember, but I know the best moments I have on set. It's just when the actors or actresses just there's a very emotional moment for their characters and they just get it. And it's such a, when I feel it in my heart and I tear up, that's the best moment for me as a director.
Yeah. Okay. I think for me, I feel the same way too. I don't have a best day on set. But then I think the best moment is, there are a couple, but then also the one that sticks out to me the most, I think it's when I'm handling the camera. And a lot of times when I'm doing handheld or, when I'm filling out the movements of the talent, and when the talent and I are in synergy and I react to them exactly how they move, I think that to me, it's the best moment for me because it feels like my instinct is right.
Right.
Yeah.
Worst day on set?
A lot. But then I think the thing that I can't stand the most, it's when I am belittled on set. Could be, from the gaffer because they think that I'm inexperienced because I'm younger, or even from the director when, when what we talked about, it's a collaboration.
Yeah.
So when that collaboration fails, I think to me that is the most disheartening thing because it's we started off in a good, strong manner. Let's finish it up in a good way and let's continue this collaboration because, I want a lasting relationship with you.
Yeah.
But when they think of you as a human tripod, I think that's something that I can't stand.
Right. That makes perfect sense.
But I think to me it's also just respect on set. Within my crew, within each other, I think that to me is the most important, and safety too.
So worst day on set, last short I made, I got a concussion. I hit my head on the monitor before we started rolling. And so then I got a concussion directing for 3 days. There was kids, there was stunts. There were it was hectic. So that was my worst experience on set.
I didn't mean to laugh, but the fact that you hit your head on the monitor before you start rolling, how director could you get?
No. It was terrible.
I know, I'm sorry.
If you could swap with any position on set for a day, what would it be?
I want to say production designer, but I know I have no talent for it. But I could be good. But when I see a friend of mine doing what she does, I feel incompetent. So probably not.
I think I would try cinematography.
Yeah.
DP. I feel like I just really love composition and deep focus, foreground, midground, background. Like thinking about frames now. So I think I would love to try that for a day.
I think a lot of it is instinct.
I agree.
I think that's the thing that drives me first, and then the visual aesthetic comes later, at least for me. So
great. So this was awesome. I adore you. I have so much love for you. We're going to work again in the future. I know it.
Yes.
I might have an idea, so let's talk about it later. But it was so great to talk to you about how we both got here and talking about our big baby documentary taking roots and how that evolved and came to be.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, for this to be our first project together, to be this meaningful, I think that's really something special. Instead of us meeting on like a shoot or something, you know, I feel like that would have been different. The outcome would have been different, but I feel like either way, like, we're meant to cross path, and
for sure, 100%.
Yeah. Well,
so here's to our next project together.
Well, I'm literally seeing you like tonight at
I know.
6.
I'm just doing it for the podcast.
Thanks for listening to Forte. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe for new episodes and follow @FortePod on Instagram for the latest updates and bonus content from today's guests. The Forte Podcast is a production of Maestro Filmworks and is filmed and recorded at Symphony Studio in Philadelphia.